Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're making milk chocolate and caramel bars with a praline crunch. Alright. This is a milk chocolate shell, the caramel filling, and the praline crunch. Please do not forget to subscribe and hit the like button. That helps me out a lot. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the video as much as I enjoyed making these for you. I'm going to enjoy this one right now. Alright, now we'll start off by making a praline paste. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Feel free to check out the recipe. It's a pretty simple recipe. Alright, once we're done caramelizing the nuts, we're going to lay them on the silicone mat, let them cool off. Then we're going to run them through a food processor with some grapeseed oil and some water. Now we're going to pour the caramelized nuts onto a silicone mat. If you don't have one, you can use parchment paper, but I advise for you to use a silicone mat. The praline sets a lot better. Alright, so just be extremely careful because it's super hot. You want to make sure you spread it out evenly, let it cool off. And once this cools off, we're going to get it in a food processor. Like I said earlier, we're going to add a little bit of grapeseed oil and some water, let it do its thing. We'll have a nice, delicious praline paste that we're going to use to make our bonbons. Alright, stay tuned. Now while the praline paste is cooling off, we're going to make a base for the bonbon. It's going to have a bottom base that's layered with chocolate. It's going to be a layer of praline, a layer of caramel, and chocolate on top of it. So now what you want to do is you want to get an acetate sheet. No, sorry, excuse me. You want to get a guitar sheet. Now, I happen to be out of guitar sheets, but I found a hack for that is you could use pastry bags. If you do not have pastry bags, Ziploc bags will work just fine. I happen to be using a frame. I'll put the dimensions of the frame that I'm using in the description box below. So I'm going to cut this pastry bag to match the dimensions for this frame right here. And then I'm going to coat the bottom with chocolate. I'm going to tamper that off. I'll drop two videos. No, scratch that. I have two videos that go over thoroughly on how to tamper chocolate. If you're interested in checking them out, please feel free to do so. I'll leave a link in the description to one of them. Alright, so now I'm going to cut this, like I said, the same dimensions of this frame. Then I'm going to tamper chocolate and lay it on the bottom, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. Next, I'm going to pour the chocolate right on top of the piping bag that I just cut. Again, you can use a Ziploc bag, and the only reason I'm using this is because I don't have any guitar sheets. And just a friendly reminder, acetate will not work for this, so please, whatever you do, do not use acetate. Alright, now I'm going to pour a nice stream of tampered chocolate. Like I said, I have a recipe that goes a lot more into detail on how to tamper chocolate. Feel free to check them out. Alright, then we're going to spread out a nice even layer. Alright, chocolate's on. Spread it around. We want nice even strokes. We don't want to overwork it once we have it on here. Perfect. Flatten it out as much as possible. Nice. Now I'm going to lay the flame on the bottom. The frame on the bottom, just to make sure it fits. Perfecto. Perfect. We're going to let that set right into the chocolate. Then we're going to make our praline paste and pour it right into there. Now to make the crunchy praline filling, I have crushed puff pastry and cornflakes. I have a recipe for puff pastry. I'll put it in the description box below. Feel free to check it out. If you do not feel like making puff pastry, I totally get it. You could just use cornflakes, excuse me. And I got the praline paste right here. I put it in a food processor with some grapeseed oil and some water. I'll put the recipe in the description box below. And then I add the praline paste, the crushed puff pastry, and the cornflakes. Then I have melted cocoa butter and milk chocolate mixed together. I'm going to pour that on top. Then we're going to mix this together. And we're going to put it on the chocolate frame that we made earlier to make a base for our bonbon. Alright, let's get into it. And that should do it. Like I said earlier, we're gonna lay the praline base onto the bottom. You just wanna be careful. We don't wanna crack our chocolate shell. All right. Nice, there it is. Now I have this tiny weeny baby spatula, offset spatula, that I'm gonna use and gently crush the praline to make a flat surface into our frame. So the base will be milk chocolate, a layer of praline, crunchy praline, and a layer of caramel filling covered with milk chocolate. A perfect chocolate treat for the holidays. Now we're going to make a caramel filling for the bonbon. I'm preheating a pan. I have it on medium heat right now, and I'm going to check to see if the pan's hot enough. I just drizzle a little bit of hot water, and when it sizzles, just like that, it's good to go. We're going to add the sugar. We're going to make a dry caramel, bring it to 325. It should have a light brown color. Once that happens, we're going to deglaze with some water and some butter. And lastly, we'll add some heavy cream at the very end. All right. Just going to stir this occasionally. We don't want it to burn. Maybe every 45 seconds or so, until we get a nice, good, dry, light brown caramel. Once it gets to 325, I'm going to deglaze it with some water. Be careful. You don't want to burn yourself. I'm just going to spread that around. Alright, and just a quick reminder, sorry, it's not even a reminder, I forgot to mention this. You want to drop the temperature when you start deglazing. Now I have it at the lowest setting, the lowest heat setting. Alright, then I'm going to deglaze with some butter. Get that in there. Again, it's at the lowest heat setting, because right now the sugar is pretty hot and we do not want to burn the caramel. There's nothing worse than a burnt caramel. I don't like the bitter taste. Some people like the bitterness play off with the sweetness. I'm not one of those people. I like a nice sweet caramel. Alright, perfect. Now once all the butter's deglazed, we're going to deglaze with some heavy cream. Alright, for that we're going to need a whisk. Start whisking and gradually add the heavy cream. Alright. Perfect, almost there. And that's it. And once you add the last bit of whipped cream, turn off the heat and keep stirring until everything is incorporated. Nice, beautiful, thick caramel. Now it's just cooking off the strength of the heat of the pan, basically. That's all it is. And we're going to strain it into a bowl and add cold butter. Alright? Now we're going to gradually add the cold butter. Now we gradually add cold butter to the caramel. Then this helps cool the caramel off. That way we can pour it into our chocolate frame with the crunchy praline. And we'll let it set overnight in the refrigerator. And tomorrow we'll dip it in some milk chocolate that is tempered off. Next we're going to pour the caramel over our chocolate and the crunchy praline filling. You want to make sure the caramel is between 95 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Otherwise it's going to melt the chocolate. I'm going to pour it over. I'm going to get this bad boy in the refrigerator and let it set. Now I'm going to mark off the dimensions for the bonbons. I'll leave them in the description box below. Alright, I hope you guys can see that. I'm going straight through. You gotta make sure the knife is hot. Again, I can't stress that enough. That way you have even bars and consistency. Now these are all perfect, in my opinion at least. Alright. Cutting, I then pour tempered milk chocolate over the caramel bars. The chocolate has to be tempered for this to work. It's the only way. And we're just looking to coat the top because remember we have a shell on the bottom. So that should be all set. You could choose to dip them in the chocolate itself, but I find that that's wastes so much chocolate because you have to melt a whole lot of it. And I don't want to melt a whole lot of chocolate just to dip off 5 bars. And this is a lot less messy, as you can see. So once I'm done coating them, lightly tap the sheet pan. That way the chocolate coats the entire bar. I hope that makes sense. And we don't want to let them set on here. We want to get them off. Let's see if I can break through the middle so you can see the fill. Oh.